government that initiated the draft. This meant that all men 18 to 45 had to sign up for the draft. Every man was assigned a 3-digit number. When this number was shown in newspapers and announced on the radio, you had to report for the draft or for duty. This cost me 3 years of my life. My number came up and I had to report to New Cumberland, Pennsylvania on December 18, 1942. There I was fitted for my uniform. Then we were to get our necessary shots to prevent disease. We had to back into a room and receive these shots on both arms at the same time. I was immediately assigned to KP duty, which is working in the kitchen for the day. This happened on Christmas Day. Fortunately, my mother, father, sister, and girlfriend came to visit me. This was a good excuse to relieve me of my duty in the kitchen. I was chosen to serve in the Army Signal Corps, not the infantry, for which I was very pleased. I was sent to Camp Edison, Seagoat, New Jersey, for basic training. My drill sergeant was a movie actor, Billy Hallett. I don't know whether you ever heard of him or not, but he was the leader of the gang of Dead End Kids, which was shown.
A little bit before your time, guys.
That's cool.
Camp Edison was situated right on the beach of the Atlantic Ocean. In December, the weather was extremely cold, so cold that we had to wear our uniforms to bed. It was that cold that my toothpaste was frozen in the morning. I stayed there about 2 months. Then I moved to Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, to study radio communications. Of course, it was still cold, and while I was walking back to the barracks from our class, it took about 15 to 20 minutes, my ears started to hurt from the cold wind. I went to the infirmary where the medics checked and said I had frostbite. They also said if I were to bend my ear, it would have broken off. I still feel it whenever it's cold day. I stayed at Fort Monmouth about 2 months and was sent to Camp Murphy, Florida, which was in Hollywood, Florida, for radar training for 3 months. Here on our free time, we could just go across the street to the beach. We had lots of fun here throwing our helmets to knock down the coconuts from palm trees. We would then break the coconuts with our helmets and share the pieces. Our next move was to Camp Crowder in Joplin, Missouri, to study communication. We stayed here about 2 months. Then we boarded a troop train to Camp Pendleton near San Francisco, California. While we were here out sightseeing one day, we were standing in the middle of the Oakland Bay Bridge when a Piper Cub plane came right at us, and he went under the bridge and came out the other side. They changed the rules now, you can't do that anymore.
Good idea.
I can't imagine why. After 1 month at this camp, we boarded another train, but had no idea where we were going. We thought we were headed to the South Pacific to the war with Japan. But no, we zigzagged across the country so that no one could detect where we were going, not even us. We wound up in Massachusetts at Camp Miles Standish to board the ship to Europe. After 3 or 4 days at sea, we landed in Edinburgh, Scotland. We loaded the trucks and headed south to the southern tip of England. At this time, we knew nothing about D-Day. We loaded into the landing craft and set a sail across the English Channel to France. We landed at Omaha Beach. The first troops landed here on June 6, 1944, which was D-Day. We landed here on June 12th. The Germans were still shooting at us from the higher cliffs above the beach. We walked all night and arrived at the town of St. Mary-Glise, which had already been bombed several times. Here we met the First Army Commander, General Omar Bradley. We were then attached to the 7th Corps Signal Battalion, who had been training in Iceland. We were assigned a truck full of communication equipment and a driver. We were to maintain communications from the front lines back to the generals. What we saw that day was something to behold. Our aircraft came across the path, they were making a clear path for us to go into Belgium and Germany. There were so many planes you couldn't see sky. They went over like this for an hour. This was precision bombing. They never damaged the roads that we traveled. In a short time, my driver's wife became ill and died. He was sent home immediately. I became the equipment operator and as well as the driver. Up till now, I had never driven a truck or a car. It didn't take long. The war must go on. If it doesn't work in one gear, try another one. I drove through France, Belgium, and Germany. It was raining heavily and the roads were muddy. I had to put down the windshield because I couldn't see for the mud that was on it. I put on goggles and drove through Germany. Just something like the last Kentucky Derby, if you remember, they had goggles on. I did the same thing. We were attached to the 4th Infantry Division, as well as the 82nd Airborne and 101st Airborne. Under the leadership of General Omar Bradley, we were first and entered Germany at Aachen. We were booed by the civilians. Shortly after this, the Battle of the Bulge began. This was Germany's last attempt to push us back to the English Channel. So they thought. Right now it began to snow heavily. It was almost Christmas Day, the day before Christmas. On all holidays, the Army always treated us very well. We had a turkey dinner with all the trimmings. I ate my dinner on a snow-covered truck fender. We finally made it back to Germany, but this time the civilians clapped for us. They knew that Germany was losing at this time. While traveling through Germany, I was pleasantly surprised by a visit by my best friend, Bill Sands. We were friends from 7th grade in grammar school. We didn't know we were so close. He was in the infantry and I was in a signal corps. Imagine that, so thousands of soldiers and I meet one of my closest friends. We had no idea that we were close to each other. Thank God for phones. We met in Heidelberg, Germany. Bill eventually became our best man at our wedding. While monitoring the communications, we were told that Germans were wearing our uniforms to beware. That night, a knock came to the back door of my truck. I quickly grabbed my rifle, kicked open the door. It was my buddy in the next truck. Good thing I didn't shoot. On the way through Germany, we had to dodge bombs on and off every night. We decided it would be safer to get out of the truck, and we found a cement bunker where we found refuge. It was so small, the two of us got in there. It was so small that if you want to turn around, you had to tell your buddy next to you, let's turn around. We could hear them coming closer and closer all the time. This one's close, oh, they're getting closer, oh, it's getting closer. Thank God the next one passed us, so we were good for the rest of that night. But the surrounding buildings were destroyed heavily. As we moved on, we came across a concentration camp, which had just been liberated. This was Dachau concentration camp. This is part of the Holocaust. There were many still in the camp that were able to take their bikes to go home. But when they got home, they were not welcome because Germany was losing. There were many inmates dead from the cremation or starved to death. We got the German civilians to come in and dig a big trench. It was about as long as this room. And they began to put the patients that died all in here. It went one after the other. Shortly after the last one that would be taken out of the civilian, the last one that was taken was a little baby. So we all had to stand at attention until they laid the baby to rest. Shortly after this, the war ended in May 1945. I arrived home by ship in October 1945. We went to camp at Fort Meade, Maryland, where I was discharged. I boarded a train and arrived at North Philadelphia train station, where I was met by my father, mother, sister Marie, and my girlfriend. In a short time, I went to take my civilian driver's test. Imagine, I drove a couple hundred miles through France, Belgium, and Germany, but when I went to take the civilian test, I flunked. It happened to be, I was on the course, there was two-lane road. The car in front of me, and the trooper said, "Pass that car." I said, "No, sir." And I went on a little further. I said, "Pass that car." I said, "No, sir." He said, "What's the problem? Why won't you pass the car?" I said, "I'm going up a hill, and I couldn't see what was coming at me on the other side." I was right, but I was wrong, according to him. By now, my girlfriend and I began to plan our wedding. It took us 6 years to get to this point. We were going to each other's prom, 1939, and hers in 1941. We decided to wait for the war to end before we could marry. We were married on February 23rd, 1946. We were married 1 month short of 70 years. My wife died on January 21st, 2016. We had 7 children. Some of them are here today. I brought some of them memorabilia with me today in case you want to see them. Thank you for listening. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have. I don't think I'll have many more trips back here to school. I just celebrated my 98th birthday last Saturday. Thanks again for Mr. Bristol and also the other teachers for this opportunity to speak to your class. It's been a great pleasure able to share the story with you. I hope you enjoyed it. Any questions, anybody?
What kind of memorabilia did you bring along with you?
Sand and shells from Omaha Beach. I have the pictures of St. Mary Glace. I have my medals from the war. This is my itinerary when I come into France and went all the way through to Germany. These are pictures of me during the war, different places I was in, Florida and so on. If you want to look at them, you're welcome to them. Any more questions?
Anybody have any questions?
Nothing to talk about, I guess, huh?
Were you like scared that you got drafted and like did you not want to?
Was I scared?
Yeah.
I think so. For 3 years I was scared. Wondered if I was going to get home. That's all.
What was your job on the truck?
I was communication. There was a big piece of communication equipment. It was laying on the side of the inside of the truck, and I operated that. Plus, after the driver went home, I had to drive the truck also.
Who were you communicating with?
Generals,
Like,
from front line back to the general.
back to, oh, okay.
How old were you at that time? 18?
22, I think. 22. Yeah, I come out at 25, got married. Yeah, but I should have known better.
What kind of equipment was it? Like I remember from the movies, like they would roll out wire, or was it transistor radios, or
Radio, that's what
was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
After the war, you went to work for Philco?
I worked for Philco before the war, and when I come back, I went back to Philco. I had 42 years at Philco.
Similar equipment to what you're building you used in the war?
Yes, same equipment,
Was that in Philadelphia or?
Philadelphia.
What strikes you the most when you went into the concentration camp?
Pardon me?
What strikes you the most? What struck you the most when you went into the concentration camp?
The conditions that they were living under, that's what struck me most. They slats, they didn't sleep on a mattress or anything, just slats. Boy, it's awful, I'm telling you. And you can see the commission equipment right there. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, unbelievable.
Yeah.
But some of them survived, but I don't know how long, but some of them, they were about this wide.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were starved to death.
Mm. Were the people still, some people still alive there when you got there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a half a dozen, at least a half a dozen are still breathing, and it's about all.
Really?
They were able to get on their bike and go home, but it was not much better than that. They needed a good meal, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So they got, when you were there, the ones that were alive, they got on their bike and left?
Yeah.
Really?
They were glad to get out of there. Oh, yeah.
Well, I was surprised, I thought
Surprising
we
everybody.
would have, you know, nursed them back, you know?
No, they just got on their bikes and went to their house. But because they were losing, they weren't welcoming home.
Yeah,
It's awful.
wow.
You had a question?
You got a question
Over there?
on the side there. Ben?
What was your rank?
Sergeant, tech sergeant.
Do you remember how much you were paid at that time in the service? They always complain today, I'm sure it was a lot less then.
It was a lot less than, what was it? $25 a day, once a month.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Once a month, paid once a month.
Yeah.
And you managed to buy a house once you and Mom got married?
Yeah.
With the GI
How much was your first house, do you remember?
My first house?
Yeah, how much did you pay for it, remember?
1,500.
And how much was your mortgage payment?
$12.12.
Right.
Wow.
24. 12 is what I paid all the time.
And you never paid an extra payment, you said?
No. I
12.
couldn't afford it.
Couldn't afford it, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Are there many more men that were in service with you, still living?
Sure there are, I don't know.
No,
how
I
many.
mean that were in your unit or?
I've never been able to contact, I tried many times on a computer. I can't seem to come up with anything. Maybe they're all gone. I know they're dying, 1,000 a day, I think they're dying. Yeah.
Do you have any kind of an estimate as to how many are still living, Doug?
Of my people?
Yeah, I mean, do they ever say on the news how
They
many
don't release
World War
that at
II?
all.
No?
No, they just tell you how many died every year. That's about it.
Yeah.
You have another question?
Questions over there?
How much was gasoline back then?
Free.
You didn't have gas.
15 cents a gallon.
Yeah.
How much?
You go,
15 cents a gallon.
Pretty far on a dollar, but-
The problem is not too many people had a dollar.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's true.
Anybody have any other questions? Okay, World War II veteran in front of you.
There you go.
Go ahead, Madison.
Would you go back if you could, or would you like not? Or like, would you like choose to not go to war if you had the choice?
Would I like to go back?
Yeah, or would you like choose to like never like go?
I was glad I went, and more than glad that I came back. I wouldn't want to do it again.
Can you speak to some of your medals, Dad? What they were for, do you recall?
I got my dog tags are here. Rifle, drivers. I passed the driver's test in the Army, but not at home.
You should have brought that.
Different requirements.
All the different parts of Europe I was in, that's the stars of how many battles we were in.
Oh, wow.
We were in 5 of them. And this is from Poland, this is from France. That's just general, everybody got one of them. But the outside of it,
Is your name on the back? And then?
And this is all the shells from Omaha Beach, shells of sand. You know, St. Mary Glees, which was the first town I went into after we landed in Omaha. And that was really bombed. It was a pretty little town, you can see, but it wasn't looking like that then.
It's funny, I don't think I've showed them this yet, but it's funny that this picture's on here of the paratrooper
Oh, yeah.
that got caught up on the, I think it was a cathedral or something.
Airborne, yeah.
Yeah, he got caught up there, and it's in the next PowerPoint I'm gonna be showing them.
Oh, wow.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's on here.
What movie's that from?
Yeah.
There's a movie,
Yeah, there is
Yeah.
a movie, not forget, now that you say that, yeah.
Yeah. Remember
Well,
seeing that.
What was it like when you got off the boat? Like, what did you go into?
When I went into France, you mean?
Yeah.
Scared for one thing. There's a lot of water, you had to get out into the water. They didn't put you on the beach, put that water, you walk in water up to your knees. Then you walked all night with wet pants and so on. But you could hear and see the shooting coming from the hills. Scary.
Do you have a favorite piece of memorabilia?
Like that.
What's your favorite piece of memorabilia that you have here?
My medals I'm very proud of. It's unusual to have sand and shells from Omaha Beach. I'm proud of them all.
Not many people probably thought of taking sand.
Right.
most people don't look at it as a
That was
tourist
before-
Yeah, right.
situation.
Wasn't really a vacation for too many people.
Hey, Dad, 2 points. Taking the one young lady's question, would you want to go back to France today to visit
Oh, I would love to.
the war? Okay. And then the second one was, you talked about calling Bill Sands on the phone in Germany. Kids nowadays have cell phones and they can talk to each other when they're standing out in the hallway.
Yeah.
What was it like to make a phone call back in 1940s in the middle of a war?
It was unusual, I can tell you that. I never talked to anybody on the phone except fellow soldiers in my own unit, you know. But, that was fascinating, to be able to talk to him. Didn't even know he was there. They called the number. They got him. I was surprised.
Was that by chance?
Huh?
By chance you
By
got all?
chance, right.
Did you go with a lot of people that you grew up with?
Hmm?
Did a lot of people get drafted that you grew up with?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All the neighbors wanted us to go. We didn't want to go, but they wanted us to go. You got a letter. Your friends and neighbors want you to serve.
Really?
Why?
Get rid of those shanty Irish.
Were you a troublemaker in the neighborhood? That's why they're trying to get rid of you?
Yeah.
Dad, did Mom often write letters
Oh, yeah.
to you?
Oh, yeah. Many. I used to get a lot of packages. I got more than anybody else in my unit. Every time mail they'd come around me because they knew I had packages all the time.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff did they send you? Food?
Cigarettes.
Cigarettes, I guess, yeah.
Cigarettes.
Wow.
Food. But I got a box one time with food and a box of talcum powder, but it broke in transit. It was all over the food.
Oh.
It didn't hurt the beer though.
Hey, Dad, why don't you tell them about the ship over to Europe and the kind of food they served you
Yeah,
there?
it was an English ship. Nothing against the English, but the food wasn't what you would desire. I was chosen this particular day to go down and get the food from the galley. I brought it up. Would you believe it was raw bacon
World War II.
and sour beets.
Oh.
That was breakfast. First, nobody ate it.
Now?
But that was breakfast. Eat it or else,
Yuck.
And no one decided to eat it?
no, not raw bacon.
No.
You're hungry, I guess.
I guess. I never tried it.
Do you still have the letters from your wife?
No. Trying to think it. I had them for a while, but we were with the
Did you lose them in Sandy?
the store, Sandy.
Yeah.
Sandy took a lot of things from me.
Yeah.
We lost almost everything in our house, so. My wedding book is all gone in Sandy.
Do you still have your receipt from your honeymoon, how much it cost at the hotel? Do you still have that?
My honeymoon?
Yeah, remember the hotel that you stayed at? Do you still have that receipt?
Yes,
Wasn't
I
it?
do. It's hanging in my,
Yeah.
That's the only reason Sandy didn't get it, was hanging on the wall.
Oh, things hanging on the wall were all fine.
yeah,
How much was your honeymoon?
$15 a night.
In New York?
Where'd you go?
I sent $30 just to make the reservation. I didn't pay for the whole week. I just paid 2 days.
Where did you go? Where was the honeymoon?
New York City.
New York City. $15 a night.
Yeah.
That doesn't even.
It's a little more than that.
Just a little bit, yeah. Just a little. Yeah. So how long were you in the kitchen? Because I know you said initially you went and you worked in the kitchen. Was that just a very short period or
Yeah, that was that day, and I got,
just that day?
you only got a day at a time, now and then. You know.
Okay.
Yeah, you didn't get a permanent job,
Okay.
unless you were real bad, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, I may enjoy the school store
Yeah.
on your.
On the walk back, yeah, 'cause
Walk back.
we're gonna walk past Mr.
I may
Bristol's
enjoy
room as well.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your service. It's wonderful hearing your story. We were listening from the other room.
Okay.
That's why all of our doors are open.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything.
Anyone else have any questions? What camp was it again that you went? The concentration camp.
That guy.
That was that guy.
There's a question I have for the class. Mr. McCormick, or Sergeant McCormick, talked about driving a Jeep all through, or a truck all through Europe. How many here would be able to drive a stick shift in a matter of seconds? You're put into a situation and you got to drive the person away. How many would be able to get into the car and drive with a stick shift? Nobody.
They can barely make it to the next classroom if I driving stick shift. It was funny, you were talking also, when you took your driver's test here, the trooper was in the car with you. Back when you took your driver's test, you did with the state trooper, correct?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's different.
Yeah,
As you guys know, nowadays, it's not like that. You're with the, you go to the DMV and there's no, you don't have a police officer in your car, so that's, he was probably a little tougher on you.
Yeah.
There's no driver's
I went in 2 weeks later, and
Yeah,
no problem.
no problem.
It was just him.
Wow. You got another question, Madison?
So like, what year did you actually get your license? Like, how old were you when you got your?
In the States,
Yeah.
when I come back from the service, I guess 24, 25, 25, I guess.
Did you take any kind of test? And obviously, there probably was no other choice, but when you started driving in the service, when you were in, did you have to take any kind of test, or you said, you're driving?
That's it.
You're driving no matter what, figure it
When I
out.
went home,
Yeah.
there's a truck and the
No one else-
convoy starting.
Yeah.
Somebody has to do it.
Figure it out.
That's it.
Yeah. That's funny. You don't have a choice.
Right.
You figured
It wasn't
six,
funny, but.
yeah, you figured six shift out pretty quick.
Yeah, right. You have to.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Anybody else? Pictures? Anyone else want to see this?
First son.
Pictures? Justin?
When you were in the war, did you see any like important people like leaders or anything like that?
What?
Did you see like any leaders or like important people?
Eisenhower, I'm still.
Yeah, actually, another picture that I have on one of the slideshows is, you were talking about the 101st Airborne. I have a picture of Eisenhower with them,
Yes.
on one of the slides that we haven't gotten to that yet, but that's one of the next things, because you had mentioned that, so it reminded me of the picture I have on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you're in fairly good health, right? Outside of your ear?
Yeah. Still staying at 98.
And you
Tough
said,
Irishman, that's all.
you said you still have effects from that ear, right? You'll still cold.
When it's cold, yes.
You still, yeah.
But 98, I still have my hair, I still have my teeth.
Man.
What more would you want?
No.
No. Takes one aspirin a day.
All right, anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to get a picture. Guys, come up. We'll take a picture with you real quick, okay? Guys, come up. And you were married for 70 years.